and welcome back to After Hours with the Argus. Today we're going to be talking about Urban Outfitters and the shirt that they put out that says Eat Less, and also urban art and the importance of it. Would you like to tell us what it was about?
Okay, so, in my nifty glasses, Urban Outfitters put out a shirt that said Eat Less. In the description though, they had more like eat less, eat whatever you want, blah blah blah. But on the t-shirt it just says Eat Less, and then Sophia Bush put out a shirt that says Zero is not a size. So both shirts sort of attack certain extremes in body types. In my article I talked about like natural size zeros and how they would be affected by zero is not a size. One person said it's like saying just because a zero is not a size for size zero, you're literally nothing. And they put out a good point that we should start our sizes at 1. I liked that.
Do you guys think companies should be a little bit more socially responsible about the kind of dress that they're putting out and what they're promoting?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, all advertisements for clothing use unrealistic models, like, things that people don't really look like. They're photoshopped and everything. On one hand, I do understand the whole eat less mentality, because in the Western world we do eat a lot more than we need to survive, and we throw out more food than anyone. But that's not saying that somebody who is larger needs to eat less. But we all have different body types. I mean, I'm a really skinny person, and it's just as bad saying zero is not a size, although I'm not, female. There are people who are naturally skinny, and they are people, contrary to the fact that people want to believe they don't actually exist.
Yeah, I think with all the psychological issues that people are prone to developing, I think it's like something like 1 in 4, 1 in 5 Canadians will develop a mental illness over the course of their lifespan, which is something that's reinforced in our psychology program. So I think as a company you should be aware of that and the possible triggers that you're promoting within your wear, especially when it comes to fashion. It's such a sensitive thing for a lot of people, and it's such a personal thing that to promote a certain image that could potentially lead to some sort of psychological trigger, I think is something to think about for sure.
I would just add, as Mike said, that a difference is very important. Like obviously, diet maintains a large part of this. Everyone's got different dietary needs, and certainly that can't be satisfied by one shirt that says eat less or body type 0. And then the other half of it is that the ideals that are set for females in our society, companies definitely should be aware of what kind of body image they're trying to sell to a consumer, especially female consumers who then have a host of problems because of that, trying to fit into a certain thing.
Yeah, and to build on that, if the company was trying to promote healthy lifestyles, why didn't the shirt just say exercise more?
Or study science.
Yeah, like study more. Like this is something like, why are we trying to just say, just starve yourself and then you'll look great? Because that's not true at all. I kind of, on one hand, I guess understand the mentality as I mentioned earlier, but on the other hand, it's just really irresponsible. Marketing as a whole is something that takes a lot of social responsibility. And I mean, how many times have we seen ads and advertisements that have gotten companies in hot water? This is something it's part of the problem too. You set these unrealistic expectations for people, and it's like, yeah, just don't eat dinner, and it'll go away.
Especially something so on trend too. Obviously, even if it's not trendy, people are still gonna take what you say seriously. But something on trend like Urban Outfitters and Brandy Melville, especially Brandy Melville, because I knew that store just blew up and everyone was wearing Brandy and they only carry one size. So not everyone can actually wear their clothes. And I mean, I think if you're going to have something on trend, say if you go to high school and everyone's wearing Brandy or everyone's wearing Urban, and you feel like you need to fit into those clothes or that image, it might be very hurtful.
And it's once again reinforcing an image. Like, it's not reinforcing intellect, it's not reinforcing studying, it's not reinforcing being a balanced person. It's making the focus on image, and such an intense focus that it's affecting other areas of life. So whereas fashion is already sort of about image, now it's going further and saying, you know, limit the kind of things that you do in your daily life, which is ridiculous in my opinion. So.
Yeah, and I've always kind of taken advertisements with a grain of salt. I mean, you don't, even in a commercial for a phone or for a car, you don't see everyday people in the advertisement. And this is just taking it a step further by basically writing on the tag or on the shirt that, you know, you should look better, eat less.
Even the Dove models too, like at least the ones I've seen, they all have flat bellies, smooth skin, like no cellulite. So even though they're real women, like it's still
Photoshop?
Yeah, like
They're a perfected version of real,
yeah.
I guess, right? I don't think that there's anything perfect about that, though.
I think the size distinction that you brought up earlier is probably a really good point. I mean, we can change the sizes to 1, and girls, guys, it doesn't matter. They still obsess about fitting into a certain arbitrary category for no other reason than it's put out there by the companies.
And you were mentioning, too, before we started this, like, sizes change by company. And I just, like, it seems like such an arbitrary, like, I mean, obviously my shirts come in small, medium, large. Like, there's no 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever. But it seems like an arbitrary system to begin with. And, like, size 0 has always sounded really ridiculous to me because it's like,
Or double
yeah,
0.
Yeah, like, you literally don't exist. You're so small that we couldn't even assign a number to you.
All right. So I guess next question about urban art, and do we consider graffiti art, and what is the importance of other type of urban art if we do consider it art? So I guess Mike can start us off.
Yeah, like we basically ran a piece in this upcoming issue about urban art and the importance of it. And one thing I want to mention right off the bat is people kind of don't get the separation between like gang art or symbols being spray painted on a building and actual urban art. I know around Thunder Bay there's a lot of examples of it. There's a Max on the corner of Simpson and right before the East End, and it looks amazing. And I think, you know, they commissioned, I believe, school children to actually paint it, and it turned out awesome. And I think it really, you know, it spruced up an ugly brick building. And street art, in that sense, can definitely do that, I believe. You know, if it, you know, it's different than somebody writing swear words on a train, which people often associate with graffiti.
Yeah, it almost seems like a certain, within any medium, there are people who will take it and sort of ruin it. And then people will perceive that as being the way the entire medium is. So for example, like rap, right? The idea of reciting poetry to music is not necessarily a bad medium, but the way people use it and the messages that they use it for and what it's culturally associated with is what gives it sort of the bad name in some respects. So I think that's kind of what you're getting at there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the favorite pieces of street art I've seen was in New York City. There's an awesome mural of Joe Strummer from The Clash, and it was painted just after he died. And I think it looks amazing. You know, it's commissioned. It's treated just as any other artwork, only they don't paint it on a canvas. They paint it on a building or on a bridge or wherever else. And there's a difference between, you know, somebody going up there at 3 o'clock in the morning to tag a bridge or whatever they do, compared with somebody actually being commissioned and working a shift to get this artwork done. I mean, in a sense, that's what street art actually is. It's not the, you know, like I said, swear words, curse words, spray painted on trains that we associate it with.
I'm not sure a lot of people know the difference. I mean, you spoke about that Max. I know people who were involved in that commissioning, and they've done a couple pieces around the city, and they're trying to push for like legal graffiti versus what you're talking about. The tagging is illegal, but I don't think people, like the public, can sense that. I'm not sure they know that one piece is commissioned versus another piece being just a tag that someone puts up.
And yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like, there's often trains parked around town, and you see some great art on them. We're commissioned though, but there are also some great commissioned art in town that, you know, I think a lot of people, like I know my mom, for example, always looked at spray paint as, you know, gang related or violent or whatever. And she's even admitted, like, that looks great. And it's something that like I said, it can spruce up an ugly building and turn it into something that actually looks nice. Because that Max, I don't know if anybody else has seen it in town, but it's not a nice building if you take that off. The bricks are chipped away and everything else. And then you got this beautiful piece of artwork on it that several people participated in. I think it looks great. I know I've said that before, but
I think there's always something, if an art form is not traditional, people react negatively to it. As an English major, my example is obviously related to English. But like the modernist poets, now they're studied in university, they're recognized as, by some people, beautiful writers and amazing writers, talented, but at the time they were thought to be terrible. They were arrested for obscenity, like, just because it wasn't traditional, but now it's in university. I think just something like that is what it makes me think of. Just because it's not traditional, it's not painted on a canvas, and it's not in a museum, that doesn't, to me, say it's not art.
Yeah, and legitimacy is always questioned. I mean, I think as time goes by, things become more and more accepted. I mean, going to the English reference, a perfect example would be like The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger was on a banned book list for several years after its publication because it had, you know, some swears in it and subject matter that wasn't formal at the time. But look at where it's gone now. And it's the same with street art. I mean, especially in major urban areas, it's becoming more and more accepted over time and a lot quicker than it is in Thunder Bay. But obviously, bigger areas, you got more artists to work with. But it's definitely something that's going to be an issue for a while in Thunder Bay and something that we're going to see more of, I think.
I think that's great. So yeah, I think that's probably it. Thank you for watching After Hours with the Argus. See you next week.